Penalty killers for Montreal, Dowd and Ward.
Excitement of an overtime finish in Boston to Game 2 of this Western Conference quarterfinal series from the sold-out Pepsi Center in Denver, Colorado. Dave Schrader along with the Hall of Famer Denny Potvin. We are less than a minute into the first period. We had an icing call that took about 45 seconds to get sorted out because of Matthew Barnaby getting into it physically with a couple of the Dallas players. And Denny, we talked about it at the top of our show, but for the folks just joining us, the Dallas Stars must come out with a different look, especially early on here in Game 2.
Well, the Dallas Stars need to get a lead, plain and simple. And as you see, it's just every whistle stoppage. It looks like hockey in the 70s and early 80s already. There's a little confrontation. There's going to be a lot of jawboning. There you see a couple of combatants right there, certainly in Gratton and Billy Guerin, who telling me this morning that he wants to be physical.
Well, he wants to be physical and hopes to find an opening in David Abisher's armor. David Abisher replacing the legendary Patrick Waugh had a tremendous regular season. That 2.09 goals against average. Patrick Waugh only had one season in his great career better than that. And David Abisher passed the test, Denny, in one playoff game.
Well, he certainly played well, and let's not forget that throughout the season he's built up to this second best save percentage average at home in the National Hockey League.
O'Donnell's centering attempt was blocked by Nick Alishin. And now Valerie Bure. His centering attempt is knocked loose. And here come the Avalanche now set to go on a goal in Game 1. That packed and wrist shot of his, but it was blocked. Bure tries to clear it out of there. And on a second effort, able to clear the zone. Now it is sent back to the Dallas Stars line. Philippe Boucher has it there. Playing on defense with Richard Matvichuk. Two lineup changes. For those of you just joining us, Scott Young, who's been nursing some back problems, was questionable for this game tonight. Skated in the warm-up. He is in, replacing, ironically, Nico Kapanen, who had the only goal for Dallas in Game 1. And the other lineup change, one that the Dallas Stars did not plan on. The veteran defenseman Temple Newman, not feeling well, we're told, unrelated to the heart condition that he was told about toward the end of the regular season. Just not feeling well, and Trevor Daley takes his spot.
Dave, I think like all playoff injuries, it's one of two things. It's either upper body or lower body injury.
That's about as specific as we're going to get. Here's a 3-on-2 break for the Dallas Stars. Turgeon on the right side here. John sets that shot of his that is blocked by Abisher. Turgeon and Young had a lot of success earlier in their careers, and they're going to try to rejuvenate that here, playing on the same line with the Dallas Stars.
Now, it's also interesting the angle of the shot by Scott Young. He came out at an angle. They're looking for the rebounds. They're not looking to beat Abisher on the initial shot. Too much of those shots came from the perimeter last game. They want to have a second man in there to get those rebounds.
Already the Dallas Stars coming out with more of a purpose, it seemed, than they did in the first period of game number 1.
Well, it's crucial for the Dallas Stars to get a lead, and much talked about the fact that they allowed too much ice to the Colorado Avalanche in Game 1.
Here is Borgström, but it's a pass across quick one-timer by Tanguay. Was blocked in front, Stu Barnes. Failed to clear it. It's in the glove of Turco, and he hangs on. Let's go back to the studio. John Butchergross.
The Bruins' best line tonight, Dave, was Samsonov, Nylander, and Bergeron, and they combine on this goal. Beautiful pass by Samsonov off the boards, up to Bergeron, and for the second straight night, a man's first career playoff goal is an overtime winner. Home teams are 8-1 now.
All right, take a look at playoff jitters in quotes because of their playoff debuts. How good was Raycroft the other night, not allowing any goals? Abisher just allowing one. And, of course, Raycroft backing that up with a great performance again tonight. Ashton Legacy, Bokun, DiPietro on the losing end against Tampa Bay. But boy, some incredible performances.
Well, Raycroft could very well be the rookie of the year. But let's not forget the support young goaltenders are getting. And Raycroft will be quick to thank Felix Potvin for dealing with the issues of having a backup goaltender. That has helped the youngster mature and also feel comfortable in his role as he's actually taken the #1 spot away from him.
Don Koharski, Chris Rooney are the officials for this Game 2 here. The Dallas Stars now have lost 4 consecutive Game 1s. Colorado had lost 3 straight. in their recent playoff history. Game 1, that is, before snapping that streak with the victory over the Dallas Stars here a couple of nights ago. It was a solid first period for the Avalanche that enabled them to get a 2-0 lead. Eventually led it 3-0 before the final of 3-1. Dallas came on with a lot of shots toward Abisher in the third period. We're talking with General Manager Doug Armstrong of the Dallas Stars standing before the game. He said that's not really a measure of the game because Colorado was sitting back at that point. And Bore's shot never got through.
Well, they sat back on the lead, and that didn't make the Colorado fans real happy. They'd like to see this team press all the time.
Well, even without a talent like Paul Kariya in the lineup, the Colorado Avalanche can put a top 6 on there to match anybody in terms of offensive capabilities. Now Spanos, number 40, who had an assist in that first game. In the zone with Nikolaitin and Tanguay. And a penalty coming here, and the first penalty is going to go against the Dallas Stars. Abisher gets to the bench for the extra attacker, and Lyle shot juggled and handled by Turco.
The Stanley Cup playoffs on ESPN2. Brought to you by the GM Truck Fest. Check out the widest selection of trucks and SUVs on the planet. Labatt Blue. Break out of the blue. Labatt Blue. And Southwest Airlines, the official airline of the National Hockey League. Southwest Airlines, a symbol of freedom.
Well, Denny, you want to play tough, you want to play aggressive, but against a potentially terrific power play, the Avalanche, you don't want to be in the penalty box.
No, you don't want to be in the penalty box. Also, you can see where the Dallas Stars have gotten schooled and don't allow anybody between you and the net if you can avoid it. Take a look at Spanos right there. He is going to go to the net, and he's going to get tripped by Turgeon. That was on the right side of your screen. And what happened is that the youngster Spanos, who's playing awfully well and a good talent, got between the net and his supposed chasing Turgeon, and he pulled him down.
2 minutes for tripping. Time of the penalty, 5 minutes, 15 seconds.
So the Colorado Avalanche go to the power play to see what they did or did not do in Game 1. They did have 10 shots on goal, but 0 for 4 with a man advantage. But this was a power play. They're ranked 3rd in the National Hockey League during the course of the regular season at better than 20%. And again, that's with a lot of their star players either out of the lineup or in the case of Teemu Selanne going through prolonged slumps. Wild with a drive and a save made by Turco. He got a piece of it with the glove. Avalanche work it very well and very quickly on the perimeter now. In the offensive zone, Blake, who's got a cannon back there, hands it off on the far boards for Forsberg. Sends it to the corner, gets the return pass. Forsberg rocks the puck, thinks about it, and his pass deflects off of Brendan Morrow and out to center ice.
Well, it looks like they're going to give the defenseman Blake and Lyles a little more time on the back line as they collapse back the Dallas Stars. So expect the defenseman when the Colorado Avalanche to start shooting.
Sakic back to pocket drop, and there it is right there, Denny, as you pointed out. And Sakic with the quick drop pass set it up. Here is Forsberg at the hash marks, hands it off to Hayden. Back to Forsberg. Forsberg behind the net. Had the puck slapped away. It's cleared around the boards. Lyles unable to hold it in.
Now you see Forsberg mishandle a puck a couple of times. Take a good look at that because you may not see that again the rest of the hockey game.
Lead pass for Selanne. Snaps it deep into the Stars zone. Turco unable to get to the puck to stop it. Madonna hit hard along the end boards. Now the puck recovered by Yuri Lundin. Doesn't clear, unable to clear. 15. It's over 10 seconds left to the man advantage. Madonna bans on the first one. Hands it off down to Yuri Lundin. And the penalty to Turgeon about to expire. Don Sweeney into the zone. His drop pass intercepted and whistled down here. With just a couple of seconds left on the penalty.
Well, it looks like Walchuk's going to go in the penalty box. Zubov took a high stick, totally accidental. And but the fact is the referee made the call right away. I think the National Hockey League really looking to call it very tightly in these National Hockey League playoffs. Let's take a look. Connor Walchuk is battling right there in behind the net with Sweeney. The stick goes up and hits Zubov, and for that he gets the penalty.
Well, that was well back when Madonna was handling the puck and had the difficulty. I just didn't see the official with the arm up, but there's no question about the contact. And you're right, Denny. Official's right on top of that. So in 3 seconds when Turgeon comes out of the box, power play for the Dallas Stars.
Now, just to make a note on Connor Walchuk, who had an outstanding start with his Colorado Avalanche. He's taking the place right now of Kariya, who's out injured. And they don't know, as you said earlier, Dave, whether or not he's going to be back. But you know, you talk about Korea and Solani. Those two certainly had a dream coming into this season, and it really hasn't turned out that way. It hasn't turned out for Solani, hasn't turned out for Korea, and certainly not for the Colorado Avalanche. It's got to be a two-way street. There you see Solani on the left side of your screen. He's got the lowest point total ever in his career. And on a per-game basis, same thing for Paul Kariya, although he has been injured much more. So those two players, good guys, excellent hockey players. The dream hasn't happened yet. Playoffs could be a redemption.
Long shot for the point by Zubov. Split just wide. Here is Turgeon able to get it back to Zubov straight away. Zubov takes a look, lines up, doesn't shoot it. Turgeon will off the side of the net. Turgeon gets to it. Now it's chased down by Dan Heino. Excellent penalty killer for the Avalanche. It clears it all the way back into the Dallas Stars zone. Stars had 5 power plays in game 1. They were 0 for 5. Richard letting his teammates know where that puck was headed along the boards. Now behind the net it comes to Guerin. Banks it off the board. Bure back at the point. A spot that he's played several times during his career. Guerin waits. Doesn't have a lane to the net. Hands off to Modano. Sends it in deep. Turgeon behind the net. Centering pass knocked away by Haydu. Now the Avalanche break up 2-on-1. Sakic and Blake. Over the front box and puck. Turco down. Puck is cleared away. And the Dallas Stars have it back in center ice, and they could have a 3-2. Turgeon both sides of the puck. Just score! There's Mike Modano. Coming through as he must with a power play goal. 1-0 Dallas.
I'll tell you what, Pierre Turgeon has had a great shift. Now, Turgeon playing his 101st playoff game. Now with the assist on the Modano goal, has 92 points, almost a point a game. Take a look at this pass. Beautiful. It just doesn't get any better than that. Thanks very much, says Modano. Modano, who's had, as he says, the yips throughout the season, did not have to worry about that one. That was a perfect pass by Pierre Turgeon, who, by the way, had put a beautiful pass out intended for Billy Guerin just a few seconds earlier that Billy Guerin missed.
And you had a good look at it from our Southwest Airlines goal cam. Mike Modano's first goal of these playoffs, 51st career playoff goal for Mike Modano. So a lot of things going the way the Dallas Stars had scripted. You can't always count on the script going your way, but the Dallas Stars able to get a 1-0 lead.
This is where they want to be.
Here is Forsberg. He wanted to slide across the tag on the far side. Shane Corson has it, and we've got a penalty and another power play coming up. Well, Mike Modano got the all-important first goal. He's called this a season of the yips, much like a golfer that struggles. We'll hear from Modano on his struggles when we come back. Modano talked about this being the season of the yips, and like golfers that struggle to make putts, he said this has been a mental struggle.
Probably so. I think you get so used to the numbers that you reach every year, and when things don't go well at the start, you start second guessing yourself and trying different things and trying to find some sort of answer to get back to the rhythm and the type of numbers that you put up in the past. And you get spoiled by it, you get used to it, and you just think it's going to come and everything's going to be easy and life will be nice and simple and you'll have some fun. But it snowballed and it just didn't turn around.
You know, but when you look at Modano and all the problems he may have had, some on the ice, some off the ice, the real solace for a hockey player is still on the ice. This is why when things are bad everywhere else, all you want to do is strap on those skates and get out and play. So for Modano right now, getting a goal early in this hockey game, getting back into it in a full pressure situation, I think is good for him. Also remember, he's lost a lot of veteran talent around him. When you think about Hatcher, Segura, Kirk Muller, as well as Dahlin.
Power play here for the Avalanche. As Boucher went off at 9:01 for the second power play opportunity here for the Colorado Avalanche. Dallas with 1-0 lead. Center pass, score! John Sakic right in the crease, bangs it home.
Well, I hope you're listening when I mentioned you better watch the mishandling of the puck by Peter Forsberg in the early parts of this game. I think he fumbled it twice. So that's not going to happen again. Take a look at this play. Wow. It is just fantastic. Really a fabulous play. And take a look at how Zubov got pulled over over to the left side. That's by Haydu. What do you do if you're a defenseman? You look left, you see Haydu, and you look right, and you're too late to catch Sakic. So again, a beautiful 2-on-1 in front of the net, and a perfect pass by Forsberg. Outstanding play by high-powered offensive people.
Joe Modano breaks out of his little slump, and Sakic says, I'm just going to answer that and keep right on going. Each team with a power play goal. And we were tied at 1, just shy of the halfway mark of the first period. Here in Game 2 of this Western Conference quarterfinal series. Joe Sakic, second goal of the playoffs and 73rd of his tremendous career.
9:36.
And an icing call here against Dallas on the touch-up.
Well, for Joe Sakic, that's 4 goals in the last 4 playoff games going back to last season.
NHL Commissioner Gary Bettman is in the house, taking in the excitement here. 1-1 is our score. Dave Stritter back along with Denny Potvin. And, of course, these two teams again meeting for the 3rd time in their playoff histories. The last 2 times they played Western Conference Finals, 1999 and 2000. And it was Dallas winning both of those series in 7 games. Both times they were able to win Game 7 on their home ice. And ironically, Denny, in both of those series, Dallas did lose Game 1. So they have something to look back on and say a loss in Game 1 doesn't mean a loss in the series.
Now, they need a little pride from their coach, and they certainly got that from Dave Tippett. He's had them watching film in between these games. He's had them watching tape on Abisher as well, as you were to shoot on Abisher. So there's nothing much better prepared in this game. Of course, scoring first was key, but right now, the power play goal by Sakic has just made it a 0-0 game.
Modano's pass across is knocked down as we see Mike Modano. Out on the ice against Matthew Barber's on here, and Barber looking at the takes the shot. It's in the glove of Turco, and he hangs on. Well, tomorrow night you've got your choice of great hockey action. Denver takes on Maine in the 2004 NCAA Division I Men's Hockey Championship on ESPN at 7 Eastern. Also tomorrow night, the Stanley Cup playoffs continue here on ESPN2 at 7:30 Eastern. Martin Brodeur and the defending Stanley Cup champion New Jersey Devils take on the Philadelphia Flyers. NHL tonight will follow the game. That's 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific. The Flyers lead that series 1-0. A lot of what Ken Hitchcock was doing with the Philadelphia Flyers this year was getting them over a couple of mental humps. We got to be able to beat the Ottawa Senators. We have to be able to beat the New Jersey Devils.
Now, Philly's had a lot of talent over the last few years, but what you say is exactly what they need. They need to be more mentally tough. And that's how the Flyers could win the Eastern Conference. But they've got to work on that. It just doesn't happen overnight. And talent doesn't always automatically give you the mental toughness.
Bugner, a late season acquisition by Pierre Lacroix, sends it down the ice. No icing as it came right at Turco. And here is Young. Back in the lineup, questionable. Did not play in Game 1 because of back problem, but he is out there and taking a regular shift. As Connor Walchuk now for the Avalanche sends it in deep. Flyers get in there first. Trevor Daley, his first ever NHL playoff game, replacing Teppo Numminen, who did not feel well after the pregame skate.
Well, much talked about heart ailment, but apparently he's been cleared on all accounts to play, to get hit, to hit people, and to play as much hockey as he wants. So what's happened tonight is not related to what we have read about.
This puck over the benches and out of play, and there's Marty Turco, who I mentioned in the open, reminds me a little bit of Denny Poppen's old teammate Billy Smith. And of course, he's got a long ways to go to match Billy's record, but he has that same kind of swagger, doesn't he?
Well, I tell you what, doing what he did in Edmonton really makes me chuckle because of Billy Smith's play against the Edmonton Oilers in the early 80s, the use of the hockey stick to help clear the crease. But you know, this was purely retaliation. You don't see it so well from this side, but he got slapped by Smith right there. You see it? Right in the mask, but that's sort of an unfair retaliation. There's no mask on Ryan Smith's face. That was a nasty hit. Of course, 4-game suspension for that.
Yep. Here is Stratton, Barnaby, and Heino. Jason Heino getting there, so Dave Tippett making some adjustments because he has had Modano on the ice with Brendan Morrow, but it looks like Dave Tippett is making some adjustments to try to keep Modano away from Chris Stratton. You want to have Mike Modano out there head-to-head against either Sakic or Forsberg. Modano is so effective at both ends of the ice.
Right. I mean, he's arguably a better two-way player than both Sakic or Forsberg. Here's thing for Gratton is that he can forget about playing offense and just totally focus on being a defensive player if he gets that matchup like he did in Game 1 against Modano. Let's take a look at Dave Abisher coming in. Remember, 3 years under the tutelage of the great Patrick Roy, and he's having a tough time right here. I don't think Patrick Roy showed him that, but you know, this kid has been, he's shown me some athletic moves. That's a new one.
Well, the thing that you have to like, not only his performance, Denny, but the things that his teammates said. Peter Forsberg immediately talked about David Abisher's performance in Game 1. The players believe in him, and that's a big part of a goaltender.
Well, if you want to make a lot of comparisons to Patrick Roy, let's not forget Patrick Roy won the Stanley Cup in his rookie season, his first playoff season.
Modano sets it up one-timer here, doesn't get through. Modano tries to give it back to Scott Young, and the play whistled down by the linesman.
Boy, I tell you what, DeMaio is talking to Forsberg. The reason for it is because Forsberg came from the middle of the ice to try and get a good hit on Modano. There's a lot of tight activity, which is not really akin to the way these two teams play, meaning they're bunched up all over the ice. So you know that what Dallas has been doing. Here's Forsberg coming in. Obviously, Forsberg not as used to giving the old shoulder as people are in trying to hit him. He missed Modano by a foot, but the attempt was there anyway. And DeMaio, ever the feisty competitor teammate, had a few choice words, I'm sure, for Forsberg.
Well, those two already have history in this series, speaking of Forsberg and DeMaio, because DeMaio had one of the best hits in Game 1 against Peter Forsberg, and he came from a long ways out to get that hit in Game 1. Luke DeMaio throwing his body around. He's not the biggest guy on the ice, but he'll play as big as anybody, as we have an icing call here against the Colorado Avalanche. There is Rob DeMaio, a guy that you'd love to have on your team in playoff time.
Well, I think God is just, you know, because if you made DeMaio the size of Chris Therien, I think the NHL would have to take a step back. You know, I mean, his feistiness, the way he loves to compete, it is only fair that he be a little smaller. Otherwise, he'd be devastating to everybody in the National Hockey League. I've always loved to watch him play.
Face-off control by the Colorado Avalanche, and it's cleared out to center ice. Zubov plays it ahead. Jason on it. Backhands it in deep. Abisher starts to come out. He gets centered down there for Blake. And the Avalanche counter the other way. Kovalchuk. Zubov one hand into the board. Milani could not control. Arnott slides it ahead. Here's Guerin with it. Takes a look to see what help he has on the way. He drops it back. And a quick check there by Therien was blocked by Abisher.
Boy, look at how far Turco comes out of the net to handle a puck. He was saying earlier, he was telling us he wants to make a difference whenever he plays. In tonight's hockey game, he just wants to get the feel of the puck. And you can see that the Colorado Avalanche are very focused on either you carry the puck in the zone or you just do a small, soft dump off the sideboard. Don't get it down where Turco can handle it and make the first pass out of the zone.
In on the forecheck for the start, centering pass for Young, and he was tied up on the play by Lyles. And here comes Matthew Barnaby the other way for the Avalanche. Into the zone, it's onside. Sets it up on the far side. Shot bounces off of John Sweeney. The Dallas defenseman, number 32, there he is. The play takes a hard hit. Puck is held in, slides toward Turco, and he decides to cover up. Well, the whole optic of these playoffs is to raise the Stanley Cup. Joe Sakic has it, so is somebody else. Oh, there's a familiar face if you're an Islander fan. Probably if you're a Ranger fan, too, because he broke a lot of hearts there. But Denny Potvin in the Hall of Fame, and this was the second of the 4 cups that Denny Potvin was able to raise. I think this is the first time I've been able to say that between my partner and I, we have 4 Stanley Cups.
That's right.
The problem is you have them all, Denny, but you never lose the thrill when you see that video, I'm sure.
No, I don't, and I show it as basically it's like having 4 children. I mean, you just don't favor one over the other. They're all very special, and they all have their own character. It's just obviously a thrill of a lifetime to have been on a Stanley Cup winning championship team, and one like ours that was pretty strong throughout a decade.
Lead pass for Hayduk. That bounced off the skate of Zubov, and Hayduk chasing it down. Milan Hayduk, 14 games going back to the regular season and including Game 1 without a goal. He thinks that's the longest goalless drought in his life, going back to even when he played Pee Wee hockey in the Czech Republic.
Okay, now you and I were talking to him, and I said, when did you change your hockey stick? And he looked at me like I had said something real nasty. Why would I change my hockey stick? It seems to me that I would change something if you go 14 games without a goal. In fact, I talked to Michel Goulet, the player development and great hockey player for the Quebec Nordiques and the Chicago Blackhawks 50-goal scorer. I asked him before the game. He said, I don't think I ever went more than 6 games without scoring a goal. But he says it happens more today. The game is much more defensive. You can get in a bad slide, tougher to get out of it.
Here is Solani now, battling to get to the front of the net. Barnes had him tied up. Caught here, wanted a penalty. Nothing coming. Backhanded toward the net. Bounced off a couple of legs and went just wide of Turco. And it's out to center right. Barnes has it. Here comes Devine coming back here. And the shot along the ice just slides wide of David Avisher. Puck held in by Steve Ott. Barnes takes a couple of hits. Even while he's down trying to play it. If you take a look at that battle along the end boards behind David Avisher. Nikolic takes over for Colorado and slides it ahead. Here is Merrick Spatos trying to come in. Oh, a little bit of a check there on Turco. There's going to be a penalty. Well, you have to make some kind of an effort not to make contact with the goaltender. Here's Jason Allen on the delay, and he just missed the net wide. The Stars continue to control. Here is Garrett. Hands it off now for Modano. Modano trying to tuck the pass back along the boards. And the penalty coming here, and Joe Sakic immediately goes over.
Watch it, Joe. He's got to get out of that half-moon area. That's restricted for the referees and the linesmen. And he also touched the referee. You just don't want to get into that because I'll tell you what, Chris Rooney is not going to have a problem sending him off. Take a look at what happens here. Here comes Turco. There's the bump right there. And the referee, Chris Rooney, was behind Turco, so I had a different view of it.
ABC Sports coverage of the quest for the most coveted trophy in sports begins tomorrow. Conference quarterfinals of the Stanley Cup presented by Nextel. Nashville will take on Detroit. The Islanders take on Tampa Bay, or St. Louis meets San Jose in Game 2 of their respective series. Check local listings for the game in your area. Saturday at 3 Eastern, noon Pacific, only on ABC Sports. You have to make an effort to avoid the goaltender. And you know, they're talking about different rule changes, and we don't really have time to get into some of the things that have been promoted and what might go into effect next year when the season starts. But, you know, play like that, if a goalie's going to be able to walk around like that, I think as long as it's an incidental bump, just to send a little message, why not?
The rule book does say incidental contact should not be called. Yeah. I think that's what that was. But next year, even if they do change part of the rule, it still wouldn't affect what happened because Turco played the puck ahead of the goal line. They're trying to restrict a goaltender going behind the goal line and getting the puck. I don't agree with any of it, but who knows what's going to happen.
Yeah, they say incidental's okay, Denny, but you have to have shown that you tried to avoid the contact, and obviously the officials didn't feel that. So, well, they continue to boo Marty Turco every time he touches the puck. The fans certainly have to appreciate so far the penalty-killing effort of the Colorado Avalanche. We're tied at 1. Each team has scored on the power play. The special team, boy, like everything in the playoffs can be magnified. We saw that in Game 1 of the Calgary-Vancouver series with all those power play goals in that 5-3 Vancouver win.
You know what? My guess is that Turco's going to want to play the puck a lot more now that the fans are booing him every time he's touching it. He is a guy who he says, I play better when I'm cocky. And that's exactly what he loves to see. Everybody in the building against him.
Now Martin, Turgeon battle for the puck for the Dallas Stars. And the ball goes down hard as he was checked by Adam Cole. 25 seconds left on the power play. Turgeon behind the net where he's made a career for himself. Back onto the line. Garrett across one-timer. Back for Chuck. Went just wide. It may have hit the post. In the screen sound, we saw the official down there wave his arms. Here's Boucher. Hands it off. Great hustle there by Strastich. And Strastich chips it off the boards. 2-on-1 from center ice. Boucher hustling back to the net. 2-on-2. Turco the save. A big hit on Strastich. And the puck came off the hit stick. And the crowd wanted a penalty. It's just a good hard collision, I think. Oh, wow. First intermission report is coming up. John Butchergroth, Barry Melrose, and Ray Ferraro. We'll talk about a preview of the Blues and Sharks game 2, wrap up the Habs and Bruins game 2, and Arnie's last stand at the Masters. A very emotional afternoon in Augusta. We might have, as we take a look at Heino being pressured by Boucher from behind, too many men on the ice. I'm not sure.
Well, this is Vatos right here getting crushed, and you know what? He's a real competitor. But this is important. Vatos had 3 shoulder surgeries in the last 3 years.
Yes, he did.
There's the sound that sounded very familiar to us up here. Redirection off the goalpost. And while we were going through those exciting moments, the Dallas Stars got a little excited.
Yeah.
They got too many people on the ice.
Too many men on the ice. That is the 3rd too many men on the ice penalty in this series already. The 2nd one against Dallas. Colorado also had one in game 2. But Denny, you know all about line changes and how much communication has to take place on the bench, especially when you're the road team.
There's no doubt that matching lines is much tougher for the road team, as you know, getting the last change. So sometimes the coaching staff will change their mind at the last second. Players have to be responsible, though, and watch what their lineup is going to be.
Final 5 seconds. Score!
You know, we talked about on the early Colorado power play that it seems like the Dallas Stars are collapsing down low. And you have to do that. When you get burnt with a second goal, you've got Forsberg and Hayduke down low. You've got to collapse an extra forward. Well, what that does is it gives Blake and his defense partner time to shoot the puck. And you had to know that the Colorado Avalanche would quickly pick up on that. And Joe Sakic laid it perfectly for Rob Blake to have a one-timer.
2.8 seconds, as you see on the clock when that goal goes in. 3 power play goals in the period, 2 by the Avalanche and 1 by the Stars. And I think Teemu Selanne may have used his stick on one of the Dallas players who looked like he went down to one knee. And not a lot of people saw it, but some of the other Dallas Stars did.
Well, you know, it was a little tap on the back of the leg, and oftentimes you get hit in the nerve right behind the cartilage on the knee, and it just sends a little numbness through the leg. And Ott sort of went down on one knee. I don't think Ott was kind of faking the hit. I think he really had a problem, and it goes away quickly. But Billy Garrett went right over at Selanne after that, and basically told him, look, you got to stay away from doing that kind of stuff. So right off of the face-off. Nothing happening now.
Well, Tanguay gets credit for that last second goal. It was Modano on the power play, Sakic on the power play, and also Tanguay with the man advantage. 2-1 Colorado. The intermission report is coming.
Get more in return.
Back here at the Pepsi Center, there is Alex Tanguay, who got credit for that goal with 2.8 seconds remaining in the first period. His second of the series, 16th career playoff goal. And it came on the power play that resulted from the too many men on the ice call against the Dallas Stars in the last minute of that first period. Dave Trader back along with Denny Potvin, and boy, the Dallas Stars can't afford those mental mistakes, and that's usually when there's too many men on the ice penalty is.
Well, they've been trying to get so many matchups, you know, and the fact is when you consider what the Dallas Stars coach Dave Tippett has been faced with, you've got a situation where he wanted to try and keep Modano away from Chris Gratton, who was focused only on playing defensively. Well, what's happened in the first period is that Granato has had Sakic in 2 of the 5 even strength shifts go against Modano, Forsberg the other 2, and then Gratton had about 1.5 shifts against Modano, 5-on-5 mind you. So Modano has seen almost everything.
Here is Barnes sending it deep now into the Avalanche zone. Jake Carson trying to get in there on the forecheck, wearing number 72. And announced his retirement from hockey last year. And decided to come back and has a great situation here with a veteran Dallas Stars team. Although it's interesting, there's only 4 players with the Dallas Stars that were part of that team that won the Stanley Cup back in '99. Here come the Avalanche, and that was getting close to a great opportunity for Milan Hayduke. And this pass for the Stars hops over the stick of Valverde, and it'll be an icing against the Dallas Stars.
Well, you know, the Avalanche on the power play have been very, very strong, and it's interesting how it's worked. You know, Sakic's goal really set up the goal by Tanguay because Sakic scored from in close on the power play. Beautiful pass from Forsberg. Take a look at what Zubov is faced with. Now to the left side is Hayduk. He sees Hayduk, but he doesn't see Sakic. So now they collapse to the Dallas Stars to be able to protect against the odd man in front of the net. Puck goes back to Rob Blake. He takes a slap shot redirected by Tanguay. So the point men now become open.
Tanguay was called for obstruction kicking on that icing call. So now the Dallas Stars have an opportunity with their power play to get the equalizer, but it's knocked away. And here comes the short-handed Avalanche. Nikolic rocks the puck, couldn't get much out of the shot, still controls, and decides to wisely just dump it back deep into the Dallas Stars zone. Here's Valerie Boy, who incidentally was given an assist on the Modano goal, along with Turgeon. It comes back to the point, Zubov with it. Zubov sends it deep. Now around on the near board, Murray trying to pinch in, and that puck is batted down, but not out of the zone. Zubov shot save made by Abisher. Here's Garrett, sends it to the front line, deflected wide. Held in, Zubov had it jump over a stick.
Valerie Bure playing on the point with Zubov is certainly not an unfamiliar position for Valerie Bure. With the Florida Panthers before coming to Dallas, certainly he was the #1 guy on the point on power play.
Here is Guerin with it now as the Stars have less than a minute remaining with this man advantage. It comes out top of the circle. Bure right between the circles trying to set up Guerin and just missed him with a pass. And Kyle Walchuk starts it back for Colorado. Sending it deep into the Star zone. Turco coming out to handle it. Kyle Walchuk. A little bit of kick. And Turco skating off up to the blue line with it. And it starts the rest the other way.
Now we knew the more you boo him, the more he's going to want to be involved. Competitor.
Pass to the front of the net. Abisher gets a crack quickly to Rob Jason Arnott. And ironically, Jason Arnott has had more success against David Abisher than anybody. The only hat trick against Abisher this year.
Tell you what, Abisher showing you his athletic ability. He gets across from the post to post as quickly as anybody I've seen.
And the crowd starts to chant at Abby, and here comes Tanguay out of the box. 2-on-1, Tanguay makes up to the cross. And he put it behind Sakic with too much on it, and it kind of jumped off the stick. May have been deflected, but it was one of those plays that just didn't develop as quickly as Tanguay wanted.
Boucher did all he could do. He tried to make Tanguay guess whether he should shoot or pass the puck, and then he got his stick down, and I think you're right, Dave. I think it deflected off of Boucher's stick.
Here is March with it down the corner. It comes back to Steve Ott. Ott's pass is broken up by Peter Forsberg. And he backhands it to start this rush the other way. Tanguay into the zone. Tries to walk around the defense. Picked up now by Hayduk. He doesn't need much room. And he didn't miss by very much, Milan Hayduk. You mentioned, we talked to Milan this morning about his struggles. But how about the stick handling of Marty Turco?
Well, Marty Turco has gone, he's gone to the boards twice, or I should say 3 times. The 2 times he moved the puck up the ice, and then the other time he drew a penalty. Abisher makes a good save, and here's the Boucher defense.
Yeah.
He gets his stick on Tanguay. That was excellently played, a 2-on-1 by Boucher. All you want to do is slow down the 2-on-1. Try and make him overthink the play, and Tanguay actually did overthink. At that point, Tanguay should keep it and try and make his own play out of goal.
And that angle you saw from behind Abisher from our Southwest Airlines goal camp. As it remains a 2-1 Colorado Avalanche lead. They lead the series 1-0. The series will head to Dallas for games 3 and 4 next week on Monday and Wednesday nights. And we'll be there to cover it for you. Here's a shot from between the circles. Never got through to Abisher. As Rutten and Corson have been down playing together now. Trevor Daley, number 5 in the lineup again because Teppo Numminen did not feel well after the warm-up pregame. Terrian slides it across on that play offside at the Colorado blue line, and Shane Corson not happy with the extra little hit given to Mike Modano.
Well, Shane Corson certainly a guy who's going to get involved whether it be regular season or playoffs. I mean, I was looking up 141st game he's playing tonight in playoff hockey. And coming into the game, he had 279 minutes of penalties.
Yeah.
I mean, this is not regular season. This is playoff penalty minutes. So he played in an era, of course, where it was a lot more physical. And they say there's no fighting in playoffs. Well, there used to be a lot of fighting in playoff hockey. And Corson was right in the middle.
The 6th different team that Shane Corson has played for in his career broke into the NHL. Of course, there's a very high draft pick, 8th overall, back in '84 with the Montreal Canadiens. Played with Edmonton, St. Louis, Montreal, Toronto, and now the Dallas Stars. Again, the crowd here in Denver booing every time Marty Turco gets near that puck. Here comes the Stars with pretty good transition. Valerie Torres to the end goal by Taylor Solani. Right with it, trying to kick it loose. Bob Bugner has a hold on him. It comes back to Jason Arnold again. Bugner takes him to the ice. Bugner went back into the traffic. And the officials want that puck to keep moving along the boards. It comes to Burry, back to the line. Zubov, great fake, gets it to the net. That was knocked down in front before it got to Abisher. But what a nifty play by Zubov. Didn't get any result from it, but he got it toward the net.
Well, he had to, because Billy Garrett finally got himself in front of the net, something he hasn't done in the past game here against Colorado. And as soon as Garrett gets anywhere near the front of the net, your responsibility as a defenseman, like Zubov in the offensive zone, get the puck to the net, give him a chance to put it away.
Zone now, Adam Foot toward the net, blocked in front, and it's cleared out of there.
Makes me laugh now when I think about some of the pundits saying that no checks were really finished in Game 1 between these two teams. There isn't a check that's not being finished right now. Look at that pass. A lot of NHL defensemen would love to have the ability to make that first pass out of the zone.
Here is Bergeron. Lays it back down to Scott Young. Two of them, of course, teammates in St. Louis earlier in their careers, and back together here in Dallas. Avalanche still looking for their first shot on goal in this period, and it may come right here from Hayden. Save made by Turco, and he hangs on. Well, you have to focus in the playoff, and Marty Turco has some other things to think about. We'll tell you about that when we come back. Well, Marty Turco focusing on the playoffs. His wife, Kelly, is expecting a baby very soon, and they think they're going to have to induce labor sometime around the end of the first round of the playoffs. Now, he and his wife, Kelly, have a daughter, Haley. His parents are with Haley right now. Kelly's parents are coming in, so they make sure they have enough hands on deck so that Haley, the daughter, is taken care of, Kelly and baby are taken care of, and Marty can focus on the task at hand.
I've got a solution for him, Dave. All he's got to do is get Matvichuk to helicopter people in to help.
That's right. Absolutely. And we'll talk a little bit about that hobby for Richard Matvichuk in a moment. Here come the Avalanche. It's in the net. It bounces off a Dallas player. The second goal that has happened that way in this series. 3-1 Colorado.
Well, maybe Matvichuk wants to go in that helicopter now and hide. He's the unfortunate victim of the puck going off of his skate. I believe it's 24. There it is, Matvichuk. He is looking at the pass. He does everything right. There's nothing that he's not doing right. Watch how he watches for Hayduk coming in, but you can't, just move your feet out of the way at the same time. As soon as he picks up Hayduk like he should, the puck hits his skate and goes in behind Turco. Just a tough break for the defenseman Matvichuk.
That'll be Peter Forsberg's goal. That'll be his second goal of the series. 55th of his illustrious playing career. Penalty coming against Colorado. Zubov shoots a Abisher. And he hangs on, and the Dallas Stars are going to go to the power play. And let's go back to the studio and John Butchergross.
Calgary Flames off to a blistering start. Jerome McGinley scored to make it 1-0. Then off the face-off win, watch Matthew Lombardi. Sammy Saddle can't find the puck in his sweater. It drops right in his feet, and Lombardi makes it 2-0.
All right, thanks very much. Calgary Flames trying to even things up as the Dallas Stars are here. But look at Peter Forsberg. 55th career playoff goal, second goal of this series, and he has just been so consistent throughout his playoff career. There's only been one series, Denny, that he's been involved in that he failed to score a goal. This is the 22nd playoff series of his career. Has at least a goal in 21 of them. Only the 97th series against the Detroit Red Wings that won 25 games that he failed to score. Just remarkably consistent.
Well, you know, it matters a lot here. There's no question. You know, the Avalanche have had 16 different players join this lineup since last year. What energizes the Colorado Avalanche is if Sakic and Forsberg are scoring, and they've done that tonight again.
And the Avalanche, short-handed, able to work it out to center ice.
There's so much the identity of this hockey team. 16 new faces on the Avalanche this year. Pierre Lacroix, the general manager, totally retooling the Avalanche, but yet they've not lost their identity because of those two, Sakic and Forsberg.
Dallas with their second power play this period, their fourth of the night. Peggy and Hayduk assisting on the goal by Peter Forsberg. And it was Chris Breton that went off on the penalty for the Avalanche. For 40 seconds remaining in this Dallas power play. They really need something now, trailing by 2. Zubov across now for Matvichuk. Back for Zubov straight away. Matvichuk again takes a look. Dances to the center of the blue line. Hands it off down. Garrett drives a shot short side. Missed the net. Zubov has it. 20 seconds left in the main advantage. Almadano snaps the pass to Matvichuk. He drives a shot. Missed the net. Hayduk gets there. Able to clear.
Interesting that Matvichuk's on the power play point with Zubov instead of Valerie Bure. Of course, that may change on the second round here, the shift. But Matvichuk being on the power play.
Here's a steal. Tanguay going to the front of the net. Matvichuk got a delayed call coming against the Dallas Stars.
Matvichuk should get a hooking penalty. That's tough. I was thinking maybe Tippett might put Matvichuk out on the power play just to get the guy going again. Little confidence. You know, he was sort of the unwitting victim of that Forsberg goal when it goes off of his skate.
Well, as I mentioned, that last goal that was scored by Colorado, the second deflected goal off of a Dallas defenseman. Here in game 1, Tanguay tries to pass it. It goes off of Teppo Newman and wins some speed. And then here, moments ago, Denny.
You know, listen, I'm the first one to say that luck is a very big part of hockey in any sport you do. But you just got to keep the puck moving, and that's what the Avalanche are doing. On Tanguay's goal, he was going for the net. He was trying to get it at the net. And Forsberg, of course, trying to do the same, trying to get the puck anywhere towards the front of the net. Things happen.
Matvichuk now in the penalty box as the Avalanche go to work. On their fourth power play, they have scored 2 out of 3 so far tonight on 4 shots. And none bigger than that goal with 2.8 seconds remaining in the first period. Off the stick of Blake and deflected in by Alex Tanguay. One of those goals early and late that can just kill you.
They absolutely can. And, you know, all the efforts for Dallas to try and slow down the Avs in the neutral zone for now has not really worked. Because in trying to slow it down in the neutral zone, they've given up on the forecheck. And the Avs have just started building their speed deeper into their zone. So they still have their speed going through the neutral zone.
Modano dumps it toward the front of the net, but Rob Blake the only one there. And he quickly headbands it out from Milan Hayduk. Crosses the line, puts on the brakes. Hands it to Sakic. Sakic takes it deep, now looks back to the line. Foot. Back to Sakic. Sakic very patient with it. Still 35 seconds left of the power play. Sakic bangs a pass out. Foot. His shot was blocked by Brendan Morrow. And Foot hustling back.
Now they've got Hayduk out there. Do you figure he hasn't scored in 14 games? What kind of high-powered hockey team is this?
And Carson. His shot is blocked by Blake. Final seconds in the Matvichuk penalty. Solani. He passed down for Steve out up the left wing side. DeMaio chugging down the right side. Now goes to the front of the net. Edmonton steers the puck away, rather. Weaver has it now for the Avalanche. Hands it to Heino. Heino to the net. Turnbull save. Great job with the goal stick to poke it out of the way of Chris Glenn and went to the net.
Pretty simple plan to play this game of hockey. Take a look at Heino. Look for the pass first. Couldn't find it. Just gets it to the net.
Excuse me, Denny. Heino went in with a very hard hit on the Dallas player, Rob DeMaio, who did not hide his retaliation. Heino says stupid, and he might be right in that case. Power play, Colorado. Well, I apologize. As we went to break, I thought that the Colorado Avalanche would have a power play. Here's the play by Barnaby that was called. We didn't see that, but we saw this. Watch the retaliation by DeMaio right there. Then we saw the official's arm up, and I think Dan Heino thought that his team was going to get a power play, but it's Barnaby in the box. Dallas on the power play. And DeMaio get away with one. Abisher pushes this puck to the boards. It is a 3-1 Colorado lead, but now the Dallas Stars with an opportunity. But into the Colorado lead, and Donato sends it back to the line. Donato sends it out, and Zubov's shot was deflected in, and Abisher able to make the save.
Well, you got Victor Letton in front of the net for Dallas, and they've got Garrett stationary. Letton moving a little bit. Letton had a pretty good opportunity to rebound.
Modano's pass was blocked, and Blake able to clear.
Pretty clear where the difference is in the power play opportunities in this game. Colorado is moving their feet a lot more. You see a lot more stationary white jerseys than the Dallas Stars, who, even though they've got a man advantage, they're not moving their feet, and typically that's not going to work for you.
Kirko continues to hear from the crowd every time he touches the puck. 6:40 remaining here in the second period. Avalanche with a 3-1 lead. Colorado had 2 goals in the power play. Dallas is only goalkeeper the man advantage that they enjoy now to the front of the net. Tip just wide. And that was Jason Arnott that had the opportunity at the side of the net. Bergeron had it knocked away. And Nicolishin and Heino started that front goal here. Nicolishin cracked to 2-on-1. Nicolishin has it set. Dan Heino, short-handed goal.
Well, I talked to Sergei Zubov before the game this morning, and one of the things he had mentioned was that we are fearful of having short-handed goals against. You try and be high-powered, you try and be offensive, but you've got Matvichuk going back. There's the play by Nicolishin. And you know, what can you say? We talked about Avalanche luck. There's a little bit of luck right there. Nicolishin wanted to pull the puck to his backhand. His stick went over the puck, and yet it's still, the puck kept going towards the net, and Heino just slaps it away. Yes, the Colorado Avalanche are getting some luck.
And what a move by Nicolishin that turned what looked like a 2-on-2 into a 2-on-1.
You still have to give up the odd man advantage, even though you've got the power play. That's a tough part about the Dallas Stars. And I'll tell you what, a lot of times, that's because you're not moving your feet.
And Dallas is going to go back on the power play just seconds after Barnaby comes out of the box. It's a high stick. It might be 4 minutes. We'll tell you about that when we come back. Welcome back here to Denver, Colorado, Pepsi Center, Game 2, Western Conference quarterfinals. Dave Strader, Denny Potvin, the rest of our crew. Look at the difference in the personnel. These are guys that were with the Stars last year in the playoffs that are not here. Daryl Sador, Oak Dowling, Darian Hatcher now with the Red Wing. Kirk Muller retired, Claude Lemieux. And you see the total number of playoff games and Stanley Cups that group alone had accounted for. And it's not just, Denny, what you miss in terms of what they provide on the ice, although that is certainly a lot. You miss what they provide off the ice in the locker room, leadership situation.
Well, there's no question about it. You take a look at Muller in particular, former captain. A lot of veteran guys. And Modano had a tough start to the season. Was handed the captaincy. That's no easy task when you're used to having somebody like a Hatcher have the captaincy. And of course, his physical play around the front of the net of the Dallas Stars is missed. Stars have won 2 cups. Or when the Stars won, I should say, when they won their cup, there were 2 players that were very big factors. One was Darian Hatcher, the other one was Craig Ludwig.
Yeah, Ludwig, another one a couple of years ago, but certainly a huge factor as the Dallas Stars try to find something here on this power play. 1 for 5, and they've been scored on. And that was on that last power play. Trevor Daley looks to make a play. It's knocked away and cleared all the way back now into the Dallas Stars zone. Continues in behind Avalanche. It is chopped out by Rico Hall, and he clears it all the way back.
Well, again, it's tough for the Dallas Stars to keep the possession of the puck in the offensive zone with a man advantage. I still think they're not moving enough to be able to take advantage of that man advantage.
Dallas Stars gave up 11 shorthanded goals during the regular season, Danny, and there was only half a dozen teams that gave up more, so it was something that plagued them during the course of the regular season. Your conversation with Sergei Zubov this morning.
When Zubov talked about being fearful of giving up shorthanded goals, remember, he spent a good part of the season playing on the power play point with Mike Modano, and now he's got to get adjusted to Valerie Bury on most occasions. And you know, you always figure that a forward on a power play point is not going to be thinking defense. So Zubov has got to do that thinking, and it takes away from his offensive opportunities as well.
Matos tries to make a move to the front of the net, slapped away. Barnes now wraps it hard around the boards, doesn't get out. Here's Forsberg with it. Nice play, but the break with a drive that is blocked. NHL.com for Score Stats Fantasy and the official store of the NHL. NHL.com, the official site of the Stanley Cup. Big credit to Denny Potvin and the rest of our crew here in Denver, Colorado. Avalanche trying to take a 2-0 lead. For the Dallas Stars were second only to the Detroit Red Wings in efficiency on home ice. But boy, you don't want to put that much pressure on your home ice advantage going home down 0-2. This shot to the top of the circle deflected over the head of Avalanche. Now Terrien sends it toward the net in wide, the Colorado goal. Here in the second period to make it 4-2 Avalanche.
Chris Terrien acquired at the trade deadline from the Philadelphia Flyers certainly brings in a size and a guy who can shoot the puck. But take a look at the positioning again of the Colorado Avalanche, totally losing his man. I think that was Barnaby, who was supposed to be watching Terrien, who slid in and got a perfect pass on goal. This is a big goal, cutting the deficit by half. We talked about earlier, getting late goals in the period. Well, there's only 2:40 left here in the second period.
Terrien's first goal of these playoffs, just the third of his career. I mean, never has been coming out for a lot of offense, but boy, that is huge, just to give down something that maybe they can build on.
Time of the goal, 17 minutes, 19 seconds.
19. As Brendan Moore gets the assist along with Jason Arnott. And the linesman whistled this down. Coming up on the Dodge Intermission Report, John Butchergroth, Barry Melrose, Ray Ferraro. If you caught up on these stories, life without Bertuzzi in Vancouver. Bruins stunned the Habs in overtime, and Arnold Palmer's very emotional farewell down in Augusta, Georgia, his final round of the Masters.
Well, he had me with a tear in my eye, did Arnold Palmer, when he was in the Butler cabin and talking about his life in golf, and in particular at Augusta.
Trevor Daley for the Stars sends it in deep. Aperture plays it along the boards. Pops off the stick of Scott Young and sends the Avalanche back 2-on-2. Chris Carson comes to Hayden. Hayden with a shot, a save. Zubov plays this up the boards. Not out. Back to get it. Avalanche are taking the opportunity to make a change here. Shane Corson plays it deep. Going to be icing, though, on the touch-up here by Vananen. ABC Sports coverage of the quest for the most coveted trophy in sports begins tomorrow afternoon with conference quarterfinal action of the Stanley Cup playoffs presented by Nextel. Nashville meets Detroit. The Islanders are in Tampa Bay. St. Louis takes on San Jose. The home teams in all of those series leading 1 game to none. That's Saturday at 3 Eastern, noon Pacific on ABC. Check local listings for the game in your area. The home teams in the West leading 1-0. Detroit, San Jose, Vancouver, and Colorado. San Jose with an overtime win last night. Here's Nicolaisen with a chance. Couldn't pull the trigger. Turco way out the side. Still out of position, but the Avalanche can't get it back to the front of the net. Rico Hall tries to make a play, and it's taken away from him, and Brendan Morrow sends it back the other way. Drop pass now. Boucher with a shot. Save rebound was there for a moment, but now Abisher has it covered.
That was an exceptional save in that there was no rebound given. One of the strategies, obviously, of the Dallas Stars is to try and get to net on the rebound. You never get a better pass than a rebound. And right here, he handles it really well. That is that's excellent as the Dallas Stars are trying to get to the net for the second shot.
Look at the goals against average for David Abisher in the first season, replacing Patrick Waugh. Patrick only had 1 season in his great career where he was better than that. And what's interesting is the Avalanche struggle. They had the worst winning percentage in the last 25 games of the regular season of any of the playoff teams. They won only 8 of their last 25. Their most consistent player, though, from October to March, probably David Abisher.
Well, they were probably testing him. Getting him ready.
Yeah.
You know, the Avalanche certainly uncharacteristic. But Tanguay also showing how much he means to this team.
It's on the Dallas Stars again. And Letton just couldn't pull the trigger.
Tanguay was injured much of the second half of the season. And Colorado certainly missed him.
Turco hands it off now. 45 seconds left of the period. Therrien, who just got the Stars to within 2, will lug it to center ice. Sends it in deep. Abisher just lets it go. DeMille hit on the far side by Vananen. Now Morrow sends it back to the line. Trevor Daley tries to move it back in deep. He didn't get it deep. And leads to the counterattack here by Forsberg. Trying to get it. Spatos has it. Spatos. Oh, he tried to find an opening. And Turco just wouldn't give one.
Well, Spatos, an interesting character, a youngster, 21 years old. He has had nothing but problems with surgeries on the shoulders in the last 3 years. But he said he's not afraid. He's not thinking about the past injuries. And he just wants to make a name for himself in this lineup. Well, just the fact that he's playing as a regular.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's already proven himself to the coaching staff. Spatos, a fine young talent.
Yeah, he managed to get back into the last 2 games of the regular season. Actually had a goal in Columbus. And here's a guy that never played in the playoffs and immediately into the lineup and making a contribution, despite the fact that he missed all that time, as you mentioned, Denny, with the shoulder surgery. He was a kid from Slovakia that left home early to get used to the North American game. We've seen a lot more of the young Europeans say, you know what, I'm going to play some junior hockey in North America. Here's a chance. Close again, and it was Peter Forsberg, and only he can do. Watch how close this is.
A lot of people talk about who's the greatest player in the game. Watch what the greatest player in the game does. Watch this. And then crossbar. He beats everybody. He just shot it an inch too high.
Well, Marty Turco, with that great goals against in the regular season, has seen 4 go by him already here in the second period, and it's really heated up a playoff atmosphere as we expected. The intermission report is straight ahead.
The Stanley Cup playoffs on ESPN2. Brought to you by Dodge, the official road team of the NHL. Grab life by the horns. Dodge. Coors Light. Unleash the Rocky Mountain cold taste of Coors Light. And Kingsford Charcoal, because taste is everything.
Well, another capacity crowd here. 432nd consecutive sellout. They're happy. Why not? 2-1 after 1, 4-2 after 2. Dave Strader back along with Denny Potvin. And Denny, in talking with Dallas coach Dave Tippett this morning, he said after game one, we have to take away time and space from this Colorado team. They haven't done it so far.
Well, what does that mean, time and space? It means try and slow them down.
Yeah.
And all what Colorado's been doing is that they've started getting their speed going deeper into their zone. That's what happens with trying to clog up the neutral zone. What happens is you relatively have no forecheck. So with the talent Colorado has, they just start their speed going at the hash marks. So by the time they hit the trap in the neutral zone, they're going top speed, and you're meeting with people who are flat-footed. That's what's happening to the Stars. They're flat-footed.
How do they adjust, though? Is there an adjustment they can make to try to turn this thing around here in the third period?
Well, they're going to have to try and press, obviously, the Colorado Avalanche. In talking about forecheck, they might have to send more than just one guy in. They've got to create turnovers. Dallas Stars admittedly call themselves a very good transition team. How do you do that? Well, you turn the puck over and you transition into a scoring opportunity. They need to get some goals right now. They're down by 2.
What's amazing to me out of a lot of the statistics and the numbers when you look at the Dallas Stars this season, 41 road games in the regular season. Well, this is their second road game of the playoffs. So 43 road games they've played since the start of the season, including the 2 goals they had tonight. They scored 79 goals, and they haven't scored 2 goals yet in 43 road games. I mean, they just have too many guys in the lineup when you look at Turgeon, even though he's on the backside of his career, Modano and Guerin, Arnott, guys that should be offensive threats.
Well, they missed on chances. They missed on opportunities, but I think the biggest telltale sign that I've seen is on the Dallas power play. You just cannot get power play opportunities where, with a man advantage, you're not moving your feet, particularly against a player like a goaltender like Abisher. They need to get some shots on him, and not just that first perimeter shot. That's what they were doing in game one. They need to get shots where there are rebounds and there are shots from posted range. There you saw the graphic where in the playoffs, Dallas has scored the second fewest goals to St. Louis.
Yeah, they are a team that came into the playoffs like St. Louis and Calgary that struggles to score. And it's fine to say that you win with defense, goaltending wins championships, but at some point, we talked about this because we covered the Minnesota Wild so often, coming off their Cinderella run of last year. At some point, you have to score to win, and the Minnesota Wild never did it. I know you were talking with Brian Murray, the general manager, one of the other Cinderella players from last year, the Mighty Ducks. Just couldn't find the formula. So as we start the third period, a penalty coming here. And a lot of the players getting involved. Barnaby, Highnote, Brendan Morrow.
Well, all the big guys are there. Billy Garrett is there. And they certainly like to get involved. And I tell you, I'd like to see Billy Garrett for the sake of the Dallas Stars. He's got to get more involved.
Well, tomorrow night there'll be a lot of players involved in the NCAA Division I Hockey Championship as Denver takes on Maine. That'll be at 7 Eastern on ESPN, 7:30 on ESPN2. If you're into the professional game, Marty Brodeur and the defending Stanley Cup champion New Jersey Devils take on the Philadelphia Flyers. Flyers lead that series 1 game to none. That's 7:30 Eastern tomorrow on ESPN2. And talk about Denver. We're here in Denver. A guy that, believe it or not, played some of his professional career here in Denver with the Rangers minor league team. Mike Richter, of course, forced to retire early because of the head injuries. And his son obviously not able to stay awake through all this excitement.
I was going to say, his son may be a future defenseman. You got to have him. How long way to keep him interested?
Well, the Avalanche go to the man advantage as Bill Garrett is called for the elbowing penalty at 1:09. And here is Hayduk having to go off the heel of his stick. Milan Hayduk, they'd love to get a goal, obviously, here, but if they could get one for number 23, just to get him back on track. Hayduk again, as we told you earlier, 14 consecutive games without a goal. And Flint tries a shot, Turco to save, and he hangs on.
Well, they've been trying to move things around. I mean, Tony Granato, the coach of the Colorado Avalanche, is trying to get Hayduk, with different lines. He moves Vatos up to the top line and late in the second period. He brings Hayduk back with Sakic. He's just trying to create some opportunities for this guy who won the Maurice Richard Trophy for the most goals last season and considerably fewer goals this year.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of it may have had to do with the acquisitions of Solani and Korea. taking a little ice time away.
Yep, he got a little bit less ice time, he was telling us this morning. Here come the Avalanche again with a man advantage. Forsberg, Sakic, Tanguay in the front of the net. Adam Foote, now Michael Lyles out there. Lyles back at the line. The pass instead goes deep for Sakic. Forsberg out to Adam Foote, lines up, doesn't shoot it. Lyles has it now. Colorado already with 2 power play goals in this game. Tanguay behind the net, Sakic trying to fire on the far side and missed it.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's a thing of beauty what the Avalanche are doing right now. They're bringing one of the 2 defensemen right down into the high slot. What that does is it forces the Dallas Stars to have their box really down low. So there's one Colorado defenseman wide open at the point if they need him for the big shot.
And they certainly have the guy that can deliver, and that's Rob Blake, whose shot was kicked in with under 3 seconds remaining in the first period by Alex Tanguay. It really changed the tone of this game. Santos behind the net. Out to Blake, fires the shot.
I'll tell you what, sometimes when things are going really well, it doesn't matter what the number on the back of the player is. You just plug it into the system, and they're playing their power play system as well as anybody. Colorado Avalanche were brutal on the power play the last 10 games of the season, but boy, they've resolved that problem. Connor Walchuk, I believe, will be credited with the redirection of the shot by Blake. So you take a look. It's not Sakic, and it's not Forsberg, and it's not Haydu, but you've got Svatos, and you've got Connor Walchuk right there who comes out in front. Connor Walchuk, a superb acquisition over the summer by the Colorado Avalanche. Puts in a beauty. Every time the Dallas Stars, they get the feeling that they're starting to get things around, turn things around. The Colorado Avalanche come back with a power play goal.
Colorado with 5 goals, 3 on the power play, 1 shorthanded and 1 at even strength. They have done it in all ways. Connor Walchuk from Blake and Svatos. So the young Slovak Svatos getting his 2nd point in as many games, and there is Connor Walchuk.
I tell you what, there is the heart and soul of the Washington Capitals.
Yeah, absolutely.
Boy, when they didn't re-sign Connor Walchuk, and we see a lot, obviously, during the games with the Florida Panthers, the Washington Capitals, it was just like that team got turned inside out, like you would turn a jersey inside out. It was not the same character after Connor Walchuk left.
And a great addition to this Colorado team like Dallas that's missing quite a few familiar names.
There's a great factor that's missing in the offense right now of the Dallas Stars. Not to say they're not going to be able to regain it. Things are going real well for Colorado right now. But just a few names. Billy Guerin, Jason Arnott, Brendan Morrow. We haven't noticed their level of grit.
He's known more as a defensive forward, but he has very good offensive skill. Carlos Strastic now number 3 for Colorado. Going to be a little touch pass for Heinold, who has one of the goals in the game. Heinold coming in on the forecheck, and he bumps into Turco. Heinold just looking to draw a little attention.
Turco had a little swing of the hockey stick there that went totally unnoticed. He has Billy Smith tapes at home.
Letting it sends it in deep. Now, I was talking to Darryl Ray, who does the color commentary on the Dallas Stars TV, another former goaltender, and I was asking him if he's overheard Marty Turco talk about Billy Smith or anybody. He says, you know what? He said, I don't even know if he would know who Billy Smith is. He said, this kid's just kind of on a planet of his own, and he's never talked about modeling his game after anybody.
Well, he didn't tell us at the top of the program that he doesn't watch any tape of himself. Why would I want to watch the tape when I'm playing badly?
Well, you may be wondering.
He's got a good point.
Yeah, that's right. If you're tuning in late, wondering why they're booing him, here it is. Here, Denny, the incidental contact, if you want to call it that. That was a penalty. Yeah. And every time he touches it, whether he's skating into the blue line or just picking it up there, they're just booing.
Well, you know, you watch Turco in the corner right there. During the Okay, Turco goes to the corner, and he just shoots the puck with any one of the forwards. While Tymnak is taking the warm-up shot, Turco will go to the corner, and he'll make several 30, 40-foot passes, maybe 10, 12 of them as part of his warm-up. You rarely see that. The Ferretti goaltender that's looking to be a better puck handler, watch Turco warm up.
Well, Marty Turco, with a career playoff record that is under 500 with that loss in Game 1. I mean, he was 6-6 last year. They won their first-round series last year in 6 games, and then lost in the second round against the Mighty Ducks of Anaheim after beating the Edmonton Oilers. So Turco with a 6-7 career record, looking to go to 6-8 now. And he just hasn't been able to have that magic. 2 great seasons that he's had, regular seasons in terms of goals against. Playoffs are a totally different animal.
When they have to face each other every second night for 2 weeks, or maybe longer, a lot more comes into play than just talent.
Bugner with a shot, and that was knocked down in front. The Dallas Stars get to it, and tried to clear, didn't get it out of the zone. Then back in deep. And now Critter just came off the bench in Colorado. Now Solani dumps it in deep. 6 minutes gone by here in the third period. The Avalanche have added to their lead with yet another power play goal here in the third. Bouncing puck finds its way to the far side, and that is ruled a 2-line pass. Dallas Stars in a huge hole on the road. Could fall down 2-0 in the series. Well, there's a committed fan, or maybe should be committed. I'm not sure which, but Colorado Avalanche 5-2. Hey, look at the changes. Look at the guys that were with this team a year ago. Yeah. And we'll get back to that list in a moment. We showed you the Dallas players and the significant players off of their team that went out in the second round of the playoffs last year. Of course, Colorado, after blowing a 3-1 series lead, lost in Game 7 on home ice against the Minnesota Wild. And a lot of the names that were with this team last year in the playoffs no longer here. But both of these clubs have made significant changes.
I always think you talk about those changes, Dave, I'm thinking, well, the general managers in the old days must have had it pretty easy when you had the same team for 10, 12 years, only 1 or 2 changes in the lineup, and usually it was a rookie that you had signed and had played in your minor league system. General managers now, boy, it's at least 50% of every team that changes every year. It's a big job.
Brandon Morrow caught behind the play with a slash on Konowalchuk. Let's go back to this list of players. Of course, Patrick Waugh at the top, Stephen Ryprecht, Derek Morris traded late this season, Greg DeVries, Mark Stula, Bates Battaglia, Mike Keane, Brian Martin. So 4 of your 6 defense that played a lot in the playoffs last year, not even here, and a combined experience of nearly 800 playoff games and 10 Stanley Cups.
Well, in some of those cases, you know, we know the reason why they're here, or why they're not here. You take a look at Derek Morris. A lot of people really felt that he might be the next coming, you know, of a solid defenseman in Colorado. But with the play of John Michael Lyles, it has just changed dramatically for the Colorado Avalanche. And that youngster was had a superb second half of the season. The team not playing well has really taken over on the back line.
And Lyles and Yuzbokov is out there now on this power play that has been just deadly for the Avalanche tonight. It has clicked 3 times already. 5-2, Colorado leading. Series will shift back to Dallas for games 3 and 4 on Monday and Wednesday as Turco does everything he can to keep it at 5-2.
Well, just take a look at what's happening to Turco rather than what is not happening in front of the net of Abisher. You get shots and you get rebounds and you get people driving to the net. Here's a nice easy shot. One guy going by the net, sacking, and take a look. Svatos is right behind him. 1, 2 guys right at the net. Sakic did get the deflection. Svatos was right there for a rebound had there been one. But that is what's not happening at the other end of the ring. Abisher is really having an easy time of it as far as I'm concerned. The shots that he's facing, not very different than what he faced in the first game. A lot of perimeter perimeter shots, a lot of long shots, and very, very few rebounds.
Forsberg sends it deep, had a stick knocked out of his hand by Terry and the defenseman. And it comes down to Yuri Letnin. Hands it off from Modano. The two of them into the zone. Short-handed. Good play by Tanguay coming back to help out on Modano. And the Dallas Stars can take control of the puck around here a little bit. Kill some time off of the penalty. Special teams have been such a huge part of this lead for the Colorado Avalanche. And up foot. Hands it off now Blake. Again, Colorado playing as poorly or inconsistently as any of the playoff teams coming in to the playoffs. Dallas playing as well as anybody, but boy, how it has changed here in 5.5 periods of this series. And Turco able to rob Spatos from about 10 feet as we take a look at the work of the special teams of the Avalanche so far.
Well, you take a look at this play, it just makes it very difficult. They're moving all the time, and you notice it on both those goals, outnumbered in front of the net. And again, a situation where you've always got people in front of the net on the power play, and this is the threat. And you've got to credit really getting Nikolitin, who made a superb play in a one-on-one while short-handed to open up the two-on-one that created the goal for Heinold. But they've done what they need to do. When you go out and get a player like Nikolitin, you know that you're helping your defensive core and your penalty killing. He's superb in the face-off circle, and he's a very, very strong penalty killer.
And, you know, we talk about Colorado being inconsistent Denny down the stretch, but in fairness, a lot of the guys you just mentioned, Nikolitin missed 30 of the last 34 games. And 2 shots on that power play for the Avalanche. But when you're ahead 5-2, you don't necessarily need another one.
No, certainly you don't. But you talk about those injuries, and obviously, you know, Tanguay was a big part of that. He was out for a number of games in the second half of the season. And things were just not working real well for the Colorado Avalanche. But, you know, you go back over the years, and, you know, I talked to Chico Rush, who does the analyst for the New Jersey Devils, and I said, was there any similarities about them going into the playoffs? And he says, you know, actually there wasn't. One year they were playing terrible going into the playoffs. And the next year they're playing superbly well. So maybe there is something to being able to turn it on at the right time.
Crowd appreciates the save by amateurs. You look at Tony Granato, and those of you that were watching the Game 1 ESPN telecast with Steve Levy and Darren Pang, they talked about Tony Granato and how, you know, he's been kind of much maligned for losing that playoff matchup against the much more experienced Jacques Lemaire behind the other bench for Minnesota. And I'll tell you what, the players, though, came out after that series loss. Rob Blake leading the way and saying, hey, it's not on Tony Granato. He put us out there in a position to win that. It was on the players down up 3 games to 1 to blow that series lead.
Well, you know, listen, I've seen it a lot. You can tell a player to shoot the puck, but if he doesn't get out and shoot the puck, you're not increasing the shots on goal for your hockey team.
Well, Scott Young shot it there, but was stopped at ABC Sports coverage. And the quest for the most coveted trophy in sports begins tomorrow. Conference quarterfinals, Stanley Cup playoff presented by Nextel. Nashville meets Detroit, the New York Islanders on the road to take on Tampa Bay, and St. Louis meets San Jose in Game 2 of their respective series. The home team in each of those cases leading 1 game to none. 3 Eastern, noon Pacific on ABC. Check local listings for the game in your area. It into the Colorado zone. It comes back to the line, picked up Terry in a drive. That was tipped by Modano in the deep slot.
You say New York, you mean Long Island, right?
Well, yeah, that's... there's so many different perspectives there in that big metropolitan area. Yuri Letnin now moves away from Hayden. Now it comes back to Zubak. Good job to keep it in the zone. Sweeps it for the Colorado net. Hot trying to center. Foot staying on him. Now Modano sends it back in deep. Letnin centering it 10. Never got to the front of the net. Zubak, little pass now for Modano. That's it across. Marion chops it for the Colorado goal. We have passed the halfway mark for this third period. Avalanche with a 3-goal lead, looking to take a 2-0 lead in this series back to Dallas. And here's a steal by Tanguay, couldn't break with it. And now it comes to Forsberg with Hayden trailing. Forsberg into the zone, snaps a shot, saved by Turco. That was
talked to Zubov this morning, and I said, what is the first option that Forsberg has when he goes offensively? And I thought, well, maybe he likes to draw the defenseman, make a pass, very unselfish type of player, one of the greatest players to play the game, obviously. But Zubov says, the problem is that you just don't know what he's going to do.
He does have so many different ways he can beat you with that quickness, stutter step move, a pass. He can go right through you.
Well, I think what makes him strong is what has made Gretzky and Mario Lemieux so great. They realize the responsibility of using everybody on the ice to your advantage. Every time Forsberg has the puck, there are 5 potential goal scorers.
The crowd wanted something there against the Dallas Stars for some contact against Avalanche. And now we got another penalty coming against the Avalanche. So it will be the Dallas Stars, unless there's some other stuff here that will be on the power play, and they're going to need to do something in a hurry on the road, trailing by 3. This is what they're playing for. The Stanley Cup, the most coveted trophy, the oldest trophy in all of professional sports. So unique because of what you just saw. The names of everybody that's ever won it is etched on that cup, and Denny Potvin's name is on there not once, not twice, but 4 times. 1980, 81, 82, and 83.
Dave, I think the Stanley Cup winners now of the 30s and 40s are going to have their names taken off the cup. The reason they do that is they take the bottom ring off
As soon as it
fills up, and then they put it in the Hall of Fame. So the cup always stays the same size and the same way.
Rico Hall in the box, holding the stick, and it is a power play again for the Dallas Stars. They're 7th of this game. They are 1 for 6, and they've given up a shorthanded goal. Here's a shot straight away. Valerie Bure didn't get through. Excellent shot block. Both Strastic and Hayduk were there.
That must be 5 or 6 tonight that Strastic has stopped.
Turgeon sends it back, and it goes right through Scott Young.
Well, Scott Young coming into the lineup. Back spasms were bothering him. And he really hasn't played a lot of shifts. Only about 5 minutes played after the second period. So that really accumulated a lot of shifts. He may not be feeling 100%.
Going back to Dallas being 0 for 5 in game 1. They're working on 1 for 11. This is their 12th power play of this series.
Well, interestingly enough, he replaces a young man named Kapanen. Kapanen was on a goal-scoring streak.
Yeah.
I think 3 goals in the last 3 playoff games.
Let's go back to John Butchergrass.
2-0 in Vancouver. A lot of goaltending contact in this series thus far, and this was a blatant Ed Jovanovski. He knocks off Mika Kiprusoff, who's in his blue paint. No one around him, but the goal stands. Marcus Naslund makes it 2-1.
Oh, wow. Boy, I can't believe they let that one stand. Just from that one look at it. As the shorthanded Avalanche able to dump it back now into the Dallas Stars zone. 6 minutes, 45 seconds remaining here in the 3rd period. Avalanche looking to create 2 games and out the lead in this series. Trevor Daley with a shot. Save made, and the puck goes right by Madonna. He had a wide open net on the rebound.
I'm not so sure Brian didn't maybe get a piece of the hockey stick and lifted it.
Madonna. Out for Yuri Letnin. Letnin. Madonna giving a shove. Back in, Boucher puts it out in front, but it's the Avalanche that are there. Chris Bratton able to send it all the way down the ice. Now we mentioned this is the 3rd time these teams have met in a playoff series. The last 2 times it was the conference finals. As we often see in the 4-5 matchup is right in front. Avalanche are able to hold his ground. A team that is potentially a Stanley Cup contender is going to go out in the 1st round.
Wow. I wonder if it makes you, really look back at the 1 versus 16 first round opponent. Last happened in 1980 when the Islanders played the Philadelphia Flyers in the final.
5.5 perhaps remaining in this one. 5-2 Colorado. Here, mindful of people serving their country over in Iraq, honoring them as well as honoring their team here, the Avalanche, that have put on a show mostly on special teams. 3 power play goals, a shorthanded goal, and a 5-2 lead here in Game 2 of this Western Conference quarterfinal series. Doug Armstrong, the general manager of the Dallas Stars, told me right before the game that he just expects this team to be much better tonight. He said, I don't know if we'll win, but we'll be much better. And they had the early 1-0 lead, but it's been all Colorado.
Now those kinds of plays we've just seen in the last couple of shifts from the Dallas Stars, we have not seen earlier in a hockey game. They want to get the puck close to the net. You can see where Abisher is not using his hockey stick to stop those passes coming out from behind the net. Take a look at Abisher, how he moves across the crease. Right there, a great opportunity for Modano, left side of your screen. He woofed at it. The puck was bouncing, and he just totally missed it.
That view from our southwest Avalanche goal camp.
Or was it the Yips?
Yeah, the Yips. Yeah, that's right. Modano made that golf analogy with kind of Europe going offensively for him. Pushes it ahead for Turgeon. Now it comes to Valerie Bure. Bure has it poked off of his stick. Now it's up in the corner. Scott Young goes back to the point with it. And Terrian shot deflected to the near side of the Colorado zone. Just over 4 minutes remaining here in the third period. Avalanche able to clear. Here comes the Zubov again. Stars desperate to get something going. Abisher decides he's just going to cover this up.
Well, Dave, we talked about the Yips. We just want to let everybody know what Madonna was talking about. He says, my season has looked like this. Shoot wide of the net, and the putter misses the hole. And again, the Yips, and the Yips on the ice, the Yips on the green, the Yips on the ice. Now, Mike Modano's the one who was telling us about it. Yeah. Put that little segment together for you. And tonight he had that open net, and he whipped on the puck. Not that it was his fault, it was bouncing, and he just missed it. But it's been that kind of season. You take a look at these 2 games. Certainly the Colorado Avalanche have had a lot of things go well for them, whereas for Dallas, it has been a yippee.
Well, I'll tell you what, usually the Yips are the short punts. 3 of those punts are 3-putt range for me anyway, whether I have the Yips or not. Absolutely. Hey, Darren Pang has seen me putt. He knows I'm not lying about that. Trevor Daly, center ice. As you think ahead, NHL.com for score, stats, fantasy, the official store of the NHL, NHL.com, the official site of the Stanley Cup.
And I wonder if somebody talked to the referees. You're seeing a lot of things let go now later on in this hockey game. I love it when they let it play.
A pass attempt to the front of the net, never got through to DeMaio. And here's Hayduk with it, sending it in deep.
You can't let that one go. Matvichuk's having a tough night. There's no doubt about things have gone not well for Richard Matvichuk, and he's going to take a high-sticking penalty, and that on Riku Hall. Tell you what, I'm talking with Dave Tippett today. He was really sort of, pointing out the fact that there's not very many areas of the game where we did well. The puck is dumped in. This is really unnecessary. In trying to hold up Hall from getting to the puck, he gets his stick up around the face, and he gets a high-sticking penalty. Does not Matvichuk.
He comes back to Lyles. Lyles takes a look. Hands it off Sponto. Sends it in deep. So he hits it there. Avalanche, you can see 3% from the power play. 8 shots. They have been very, very efficient with the man advantage. So on 8 sets of the cross. Bob Boucher was moved in. Boucher had a couple of assists in game number 1. Not normally known for his offense. In fact, the first time he had a multi-point effort in the playoffs in his career. As the shorthanded Stars clear this one down the ice.
Well, Boucher, based on that, deserves to be on the power play.
Yep.
think, it's a pretty wise move by Granato. I mean, you get a lot of guys on the power play right there, like Nikolition, and, you've got Paul and Barnaby. You're not putting your biggest power play guys on the ice. Only a minute 49 remaining in the hockey game. You've got a 3-goal lead. You don't want to sort of rub it in to the Dallas Stars, so you let other guys get power play time. I think Granato's making a smart move by doing that. It can be a long series.
Yeah, and you see the Avalanche historically, and that goes back to their days as the Quebec Nordiques. 13 times prior to this have won the first 2 games of a series and have won 11 of those series. Again, if you're the Dallas Stars, you can't afford to think about, well, now we have to win 4 out of 5. Or if you're Colorado, you can't think of it that way either. Boy, that game 3 in Dallas on Monday night. Yep, absolutely.
Tonight might be a pivotal game. But, I played enough of them. You want to win every game.
Yeah, that's right.
You can't try and figure which one can I lose. Still win the series. Those negative thoughts permeate through the mind and the body too quickly.
And we got another penalty at least coming here. And you see Colorado, what they have done in this building. And even going back to their old home here. And a high sticking call against Don Sweeney.
Now, Don Sweeney, he'll admit he's certainly not the size of a Darian Hatcher. May not be able to replace a Sidor, but in my books, for his size, he has had a wonderful career in the National Hockey League. Don Sweeney is all about understanding the game and playing it pretty well. He's a small man at 190 pounds. One position so that a big man cannot get around.
John Michael Lyles on the ice. Little reward for the guys.
Absolutely. It's a right move by
out of the box comes McIntyre. One-man advantage. The shot in the glove of Turco. And Bugner came close.
Bugner looking like Ray Borg.
Now they certainly are playing for Steve Moore. Not able to play because of the injury sustained on that much talked about, much seen, much replayed hit from Todd Bertuzzi. Bertuzzi unable to play the rest of the season or in these playoffs. Steve Moore very much in the hearts and minds of the fans and the Colorado Avalanche. Here's Solani with it. And locks it off his stick. Corson hands it to Boucher. Corson upended. The puck stays in the zone for the Avalanche. Solani slides it in front, and it just was to fight their way before Barnaby could pull the trigger. Final 12 seconds of this one. Crowd coming to their feet here. And what do we got? The clock's still running. The official has blown the whistle.
Now there's Corson going right at Barnaby.
Yep.
You can see the frustration. You can feel it for the Dallas Stars. They thought they could shut down the Colorado Avalanche by doing a few things, by tweaking their game a little bit. There we go to the front of that. Barnaby knows he's in it. Whoa, he gets a good shot right here from the goaltender. So he's in a battle. He knows somebody's coming at him, but I don't think he expects the little right or left jab by Corson who came in late.
Now, Corson and Barnaby had words prior to game 1 in the warm-up. And having some words here late now with under 3 seconds to go here in game 2. Well, it's going to be fun in Dallas on Monday night.
You know, Barnaby is Barnaby, but you know what people forget is that Barnaby in 1998 had a pretty good playoff season. I mean, Barnaby went out with the Buffalo Sabres, and he had 13 points in 15 playoff games back in Buffalo. And he can fool you.
Well, Colorado will be the first of those teams to take a 2-0 lead. Vancouver struggling against Calgary in their game 2, and San Jose and Detroit will try to go up 2-0 tomorrow night, or excuse me, tomorrow afternoon on ABC Sports. 2 of our 3 regional games.
it's a 2-1 lead Calgary now over Vancouver at this point.
Well, they're discussing the clock. I don't know that they need to put the time back up there that ran down. I think they just want to get the right number of players on the ice. Abby. Boy, the players and the fans believe in David Abisher, and that is it. Now the clock, this time the clock didn't run. And now everybody's saying, hold on. And the teams are showing pretty good restraint. They're staying on their benches. Although the players started to skate over. And
yeah, the clock never moved.
No, it didn't.
It's still held at 2.7 seconds. So they're gonna have to do it again.
Yeah.
To end the game, and I guess prolong the agony. Dallas would love to get back home, regroup. Maybe home ice advantage will help them.
Well, they did put that time back on that ran down before those penalties. And so they're going to make it official. This is going to do it. And David Abisher, in his first 2-point games, replacing Patrick Law. Denny is 2-0.
Well, Abisher, 21 shots he faced tonight, 19 saves. And again, you've got to say that it's been defense by a committee. He's gotten a lot of help from his defense. Colorado Avalanche surprisingly playing well in their own zone.
5-2 is the final score. The Avalanche grab a 2-0 lead in this best of 7 quarterfinal series. We'll go to the East tomorrow here on ESPN 2, 7:30 Eastern for Game 2 between the Devils and the Philadelphia Flyers. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For more, log on to ESPN.com. For Denny Poppin and the rest of our crew here in Denver, I'm Dave Schrader. Thanks for joining us. Avalanche win it 5-2. NHL tonight.